The Bible says to believe in it.
But like, how do we know that to believe in that?
The Bible says.
That's it?
I don't know to believe in the Bible.
The Bible says to believe in the Bible.
Right, so it's like me saying that you have to trust me.
He's making.
I know.
And why do I need to trust you?
Because I said.
That's right. Which makes no sense whatsoever.
All the other, not all the other religions, but I'm saying the two main ones, Christian and yeah, the Muslims, that people like say, like it says that the Jews are the chosen people.
And then they
Israel belongs
switched
to
over
the-
to them.
That's how they know.
Yeah.
So how
Right,
do we
something
know?
they also say that.
We're not supposed to believe what like they're saying. We're supposed to believe what we say.
Except if they're giving us a compliment. Then you're supposed to believe them.
I mean, it says it in the Torah, which is it.
I think the best proof is that they're jealous.
But how does that prove that we're like they're jealous of us?
Uh-huh.
But how does that like?
Why are they jealous?
Because we're awesome.
There you go.
And how do we know like Moshiach's gonna come? Like how do we know?
Whoa, one thing at a time. So how do we know that we're the chosen people? Because the whole world hates us for it. Does that make it real?
That's cool. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Why does it have to be that way?
So when somebody says, how do you know you're the chosen people? Maybe somebody else is the chosen people. Well, if they were the chosen people, why are they jealous of us? But we don't walk around being jealous of anybody. Are you jealous of the Irish?
There's the same thing also, like when people bully people, it's like because they're jealous of them. So it's like,
Uh-huh.
when like bullies are usually jealous of other people, that's why they bully people. So it's like the same thing here.
Or they have problems.
No,
sometimes
that's why
they-
they're jealous of them.
No, but they're jealous of the fact that we are chosen. Why don't they just decide they're chosen and leave us alone? If they feel they're chosen, why does it bother them that we think we're chosen? If some other people came along and said they were chosen, would it bother you? Because today it'd be chosen. Why does it bother them that we think we're chosen? Because it must be. It's very interesting that when Yaakov was wrestling with the Malach, whose Malach was it? So after he won the fight, the Malach wanted to leave. No? What was the story? He wouldn't let him go.
The Malach wanted to leave?
Yeah. And Yaakov wouldn't let him go. He wanted a bracha from him. Yeah? Which bracha? What bracha do you want from Esav? Huh?
Maybe because he's a Malach, so he's special?
Esav's Malach? That's worse than Esav himself. So, what he wanted from the Malach is that he should admit that Yaakov is the Bechor. Because that was the fight, right? Who's the Bechor? So he wanted the Malach to admit that he is the Bechor. To give him the... And the Malach did, right? Changed his name to Yisrael. In that same parsha, it gives you a list of Esav's children. One of Esav's children is Rome. Two years ago, the Pope, which is Rome, right, was speaking at the shul over there in Italy, and he said, "I'm here to speak to you because you are our older brother."
Who's he talking
To the Jews. He said, "You are our older brothers in faith." Now he could have said, you had the faith before we did. He could have said, you've been studying the Bible longer than we have. He chooses to say, you're our older brother. In other words, what the Malach agreed to 4,000 years ago finally happened 2 years ago. When Rome said, yeah, you're the older brother.
Until then, they didn't say that.
No.
So does that
Till,
mean?
till then they were killing us.
So does that mean now that they know that we're the chosen people?
Yes.
So does that mean that I don't know which religion Rome is, but does that mean that
Catholic.
Catholic is not anymore? Like there's no Catholic religion because they just admitted to the
it
church.
is.
A lot
It
of
is,
Catholic
though.
people believe that we're the chosen nation.
Yeah, so they do. They don't have to become Jewish just because.
That's like being opposite.
No, until recently, the Catholic belief was that every Jew has to convert.
But it says in their Bible that we're the chosen nation. Doesn't
We used to be, we blew it.
it? It's like saying that the Bible's no longer what it said. It's like that's why they make the New Testament.
So yeah, so they have a whole explanation that there will always be a chosen people, but if you don't behave yourself, you lose it and somebody else gets it.
It's not the kind of thing that you can just lose status for.
That's right.
Why not? Why can't you lose status of it?
It's like this guy said to me, you used to be the people of the covenant, but God took it from you and gave it to us. So you know what covenant means? Right.
What is it?
Everyone has to promise.
A covenant means that but he took it from you and gave it to us. He said, okay, you can keep it. It's not worth the paper it's written on.
That's funny.
So how do we know Moshiach is coming?
It's a good question. I don't know.
The other names came true, so this one.
How do we know that those are true? Like, how do we know that the
They came
whole
true.
Torah is true?
Maybe that's came true. You can see that happening.
One second. There's a difference between believing that he's coming and knowing that he's coming. The question is, how do we know?
It's like the story
It's
of
only
Abraham.
if you believe in the Torah. Then everyone says that if you believe in the Torah, then you have to believe in it. Who knows? That's the whole thing. But like, what if you don't know what to believe in?
If you believe in Torah, then what?
Everyone says that if you believe in Torah, like you have to believe in Torah, and because you believe in Torah, that's how you know that we're the true religion. That's how you know that being Jewish is the right way, and whatever. But like,
So-
how do we know to believe in the Torah?
Right. So can you believe in Mashiach without believing in the rest of the Torah?
Yeah. You can believe in it and stop believing in the beginning.
In other words, you can believe anything.
You can pretend like you don't believe, but if you
You just make up any story and believe it. But I'm talking about real emunah. Can you?
what is real meaning?
Real emunah means recognizing the truth, not making something up.
How do we know it's the truth?
Right. So can you know Mashiach without Torah?
What would we know Torah from? Where do we know
What-
Moshiach from?
There are people who believe in Mashiach and don't believe in the Torah.
How is that possible?
Because they believe that the world is going to get perfect. Because
ISIS believes in
how can it not? You mean it's just going to be like this forever?
ISIS believes in the end. They don't believe in Torah.
What kind of thing do they believe in the
Doesn't
first
matter. They
world?
still believe in the end.
Mashiach's
But
not-
but they do get it from the Torah. That's the
They
amazing
don't believe
thing.
in Torah. They still believe in the end.
Mashiach's not an end. It's a beginning.
Well, an end to the
In
mess.
the beginning.
Yeah, but it's not like an end to the world.
No, an end to the mess. So the question is, can the mess go on forever? Can a messed up world go on forever?
No.
It doesn't make sense. So it must be that it's going to get straightened out. Mess doesn't go on forever.
But how does that show that Mashiach's
So that's what they mean by Moshiach. The question is it going to happen by itself? Is it going to happen because of a group of people? Is it going to happen because of one person? But it's going to happen.
How do we know that? Just because we know that the world's not going to stay a mess forever?
Yeah.
But how do we know that it's going to be forever? How do we know that the mess isn't just going to get better, okay, for a time period and then
Mess up again?
Yeah, pretty much.
Could be.
Don't they say Moshiach's forever?
It could. Wait. So we're talking about people who are believing in Moshiach on their own. Just their own logic, right? Their own logic says, come on, it's got it. Well, you're going to fight wars forever? Come on. Right? It's not making any sense anymore.
It's been happening for the past 5,000,
Yes.
600.
Yeah. So there are other people who say, be realistic. There's always been wars. There will always be wars. Stop dreaming.
It's more like a hope for the people who don't believe in Torah. They hope that this can't go on forever.
And it makes sense. It's not unreasonable. Like communism. Couldn't go on forever. It had to collapse. So wars, when there's not even a good reason for it, it's got to stop. And that's why war doesn't make sense to us. It used to make sense. Every country had an army. Every country went to war. Every country was fighting over. See, you see? But they didn't think so. And to us, it sounds messed up. Because maybe there used to be issues to fight wars over. We don't see any issues. What is your problem?
There are issues now to fight over though.
Like what?
ISIS, the fact that people are dying and stuff like that.
Religion. Right?
Not
That's what it's down to. The only wars we have today are religious fanatics.
And then there's Russia.
What's with Russia?
What?
What about Russia?
Russia and Ukraine. They're not fighting for religion. Russia just wants Ukraine.
No, they're not fighting anymore. And even that, the whole world said, what are you doing? The whole world, what are you crazy? What do you need that little piece of... See, it doesn't make sense anymore. So there is some progress. We're moving in that direction. So even without Torah, even without Emunah, people expect that life will get better until it becomes perfect. And once it's perfect, why would it go back? Unless you imagine it's going to become like Gan Eden, and there'll be one tree, and somebody's going to eat from that tree and start this whole thing all over again.
But according to the Torah, that's not possible.
No. Because the whole point is to fix that tree so that it never happens again. So, what do we know about Moshiach? It's very, very interesting. The Rambam writes all 14 volumes of Rambam about halacha. When it comes to Moshiach, the Rambam writes like this: when there will arise a king who will do X, Y, and Z, that's probably Moshiach. This is like shocking. The Rambam doesn't say it's a mitzvah to believe in the coming of Moshiach, like every other mitzvah. How did he start Hilchos Shabbos? Also, you're not allowed to carry Daled Amos. It's a halacha. When it comes to Moshiach, he suddenly is not sounding like a halacha. When a king arises, what is that, a mitzvah? Is that an obligation? What is that?
It's stating an event.
So what is that doing in a halacha book?
Maybe that you have to believe that that person's going to go.
So say so. He doesn't say so. He doesn't say you have to believe, you're mechuyev to believe, it's a mitzvah to believe. And that's why some people actually think that that chapter was not written by the Rambam. Because it's not a halacha.
So then why, if it's in the same sefer, then why would they not believe that it's written by the Rambam?
They think somebody added it later or something, right? Of course, the Rebbe didn't accept that at all.
Why?
Because it is the Rambam.
Oh, he didn't. I thought he didn't say that. Okay.
Yeah. So what the Rambam is saying is like this. There is no mitzvah to believe in Moshiach. There's no such mitzvah. Look through the entire Torah. Where's such a mitzvah?
I remember hearing once that like a Jew, even if they don't do mitzvahs, you automatically have like a few mitzvahs. Like when you believe in Hashem, you believe in Moshiach and some other things. Isn't that
Yeah.
no?
Oh, someone's not doing it, so sometimes.
Like when you go to a
not
place.
doing something.
Most people know that evil by the
So technically speaking, it's not correct to say it's a mitzvah to believe in Mashiach. It's not right. There's no such mitzvah. So what the Rambam says is like this. If a king rises and he leads people in the right direction and Lecha Milchemes Hashem and then you can assume that he is Mashiach. If you don't believe, Rambam says, if you don't believe in Mashiach and you're not expecting him, then you are denying the whole Torah. You see that? If you don't believe in Mashiach, then you're denying the Torah. So is there a mitzvah to believe in Mashiach? No, the mitzvah is to believe in Torah. And the Torah says Mashiach is coming. So if you don't believe in Mashiach, then you don't believe in Torah. So believing in Mashiach is not a mitzvah. It's more, right? It's more than a mitzvah. It's the whole package. But let's take it a little more Siddish. What is the purpose of all the mitzvahs?
To bring Mashiach.
Make you a better person.
Huh?
Make you a better person.
To make you a better person, to make
Make you a better person.
Make it your best.
right, to make the world perfect. Huh?
Well, we don't want it perfect. Then there's nothing else to do anymore.
When Mashiach's gonna come. That's when
It's not like
Mashiach
even
comes.
when Mashiach comes, like there's so many things to do.
Oh, there'll be what to do, but there won't be any evil.
No support.
There won't. Good question. We'll get to that in a second. So the purpose of all Torah and mitzvahs is to make the world perfect. If you don't think the world is going to get perfect, then the whole Torah is a joke. So the Rambam writes in Hilchas Mashiach, don't you dare think that Mashiach is going to do miracles. Whoa. Why not?
Because it's up to us to be the ones to make it like that, and then
Once you say something's a miracle, you let it out by itself. Like it's gonna be a miracle, you're gonna let it just flow. But if you're gonna work on it, then it's not really.
If Mashiach comes and he performs a miracle, why? Why is he performing a miracle?
To show us like that God's here.
To show us. In other words, we still don't believe. Why would he need to do a miracle?
Because when Mashiach comes, we will believe.
If we don't believe even after he comes, I mean, what's the point? So the Rambam says, don't you dare think that he's going to do miracles. Because if he still needs to do miracles, then the Torah didn't work. The Torah is supposed to make the world perfect. When do you need a miracle? When things are not perfect. Like, why did there have to be Kriyas Yamsuf? Because I was in the way. Why do you need a bracha to heal from your sickness? But if nature is good, if the world is good, why would you need a miracle? Or in simple language, if Teva has become good, why do you need L'mayla min HaTeva?
Even better.
Why do you have to improve on Teva if Teva is already good? So the Rambam says, I gave you 14 volumes of instruction on how to make the world good, and you think Mashiach is going to do miracles? You haven't heard a word I said. You just undid everything. So don't you dare think he's going to do miracles.
then it has to be perfect before Mashiach comes.
Naturally perfect, not miraculously.
How is that even possible?
Ah, that's the
I feel like we
point.
spend so much time talking about Mashiach and how it's gonna be. We're all forgetting that like we're still not there. Like we need to bring it. Like
Otherwise,
we're not really focused.
if Mashiach can come miraculously, what are we waiting for? Then he could have come 1,000 years ago. Why not?
Waiting for
I mean,
God to send him.
if you're doing miracles, he can do the miracle 1,000 years ago.
Well, we need to be ready for it, maybe.
Oh, what does that mean? We need to be ready.
Maybe we need to do something.
But what about like Tiras Mason? That's a miracle. He's not performing that, right?
Because at that point,
Also, the Rambam doesn't believe in it.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
There are two opinions.
See, Rambam does not mention Trias HaMesim.
We learned about this.
Is it not
There's
happening?
Oh, of course it's
there are two
happening.
stages of, there are a few stages of Mashiach. So
Because Trias HaMesim is after Moshiach.
so that's already going to be natural to him. It's Christmas.
And then there, you don't need
What's gonna
a,
be after? What's gonna
you
be
don't need a
after
halacha.
Mashiach?
So what's going to be after Mashiach?
like
So first of
We're
all,
living forever, like
well, first there's a time of Mashiach. Yemais HaMashiach. That's not Olam Haba. Yemais HaMashiach is supposed to be 100 years or 40 years, something.
Something with 40,
depends,
right?
depends which opinion you're going.
Yeah, the Rebbe said that since we're so late,
It's gonna be like 40 minutes.
it can't be 100 years anymore. You have to cut it down. But the point is, there's a period called Yemais HaMashiach. In Yemais HaMashiach, there will be no sinning. But there will also be no miracles. So there won't be Trias HaMesim. People will live long,
Will
but
people
not,
die?
yes. People will live long, but not forever. Then, after that period, comes Olam Haba.
Is there gonna be like sadness during Mashiach? Like if when someone passes away, are people gonna be sad about it?
Yeah.
And then
but are they gonna come back?
Yeah.
they will.
And then it's gonna be forever?
Yeah.
But like, what do you do forever? Honestly.
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I just think about.
I can't even do something for a month.
Exactly.
You don't know.
Like, our lives are so limited.
So, but that's why we have to have Yemais HaMashiach in between.
So what's the next Mashiach?
When everything is perfect and you're not waking up in the morning to fix your problems. Today we wake up to fix our problems.
So why are we going to...
What is life going to be like when there are no problems? What are you going to wake up to? In other words, how are you going to be excited to wake up in the morning when yesterday was already good?
Sleep all day.
You're going to wake up excited because you can be better than yesterday.
So maybe there's just gonna be unlimited good, and you'll just
There is unlimited good,
so
but we don't
go
understand.
higher and higher.
Right, but we don't understand how that's exciting. Okay, better, a little better. Right? We get excited if you can fix a problem. If you can go from horrible to okay, that's an accomplishment. If it's not horrible, okay, so it's a little better, big deal, right? So in Yemais HaMashiach, we're going to learn how to be excited about better, which is really a very feminine thing. Women are much more like that than men. The masculine nature is to fix a problem. The feminine nature is to enjoy the solution. Like you can see it.
When Mashiach comes, let's say, or let's put it lightly, the Torah is a little bit sexist towards women. When Mashiach comes, are women going to still be able to have jobs as like lawyers, or well, there won't be lawyers?
There won't be jobs.
So
That's
woman
really
is just
boring.
going to be a house mom.
And what
And
will the
what am I
men?
gonna do?
Right.
Learn all day.
And what will men be?
Learning all day.
Yeah, but that's very boring. Like no jobs.
It's not boring. You just can't comprehend it.
No, like
So
We can't comprehend it.
Yeah. So again, we can't go from Golus to Olam Haba. We can't go from Golus to Olam Haba. We need Yemais HaMashiach in the middle.
is that the two stages?
So Olam Hazeh. Olam Hazeh is like weekday. Yemais HaMoshiach is like Yom Tov, and Olam Haba is like Shabbos.
So does Ilam Haba have to come before the year 6000, or you might Mashiach has to?
Yemais HaMoshiach.
That's not like a real.
What's the difference between Yom Tov and Shabbos?
Can't cook.
Carry.
Yeah, which malachas are you allowed to do on Yom Tov? Why?
Because it's not Shabbos.
No, why those? Why cooking is allowed?
Because you need to eat the next day. It's longer than Shabbos.
Right.
Obviously, you can cook for on Friday.
So, what are you allowed to do on Yom Tov? Anything necessary for food. For eating. In other words, there will still be problems.
There's still be problems.
So when you talk about Mashiach, you're talking about Yemais Mashiach or afterwards?
Yemais HaMoshiach.
And afterwards is still...
Afterwards, everything changes.
So
I mean, Chias HaMesim, I mean,
How do we know?
nothing is normal after that.
How do we know when? How do we know when it's going to be Yom Mashiach?
When everyone is good.
So
not yet.
like us personally good, or like the world will be good.
Everybody.
Will the bad people be like dead, or will they just be like?
Good.
Will they die, or is that just
No, they'll be good.
How do you accomplish that?
So the Rambam says, what's going to happen in Yemais HaMashiach? There'll be no war, there'll be no fighting, there'll be no jealousy, there'll be no competition, because everything is going to be available and there'll be nothing to fight over. So what will people do? Learn.
It says that if there are 10 people, the Rebbe said, I think, if there are 10 people in a room that genuinely want Mashiach, then Mashiach is going to come, right? So by the Rebbe's for bringing, or like even back in the old days when like all these Rabbanim were sitting together and writing the Torah, not 10 of them didn't want Mashiach to come. Genuinely, 10, but not then. By the Sikh, by the time the Rebbe was saying Sikhs, 10 people genuinely didn't want Mashiach to come.
There was
If those people who are so much,
one sikha where the Rebbe said not even one. There isn't one person who really wants Mashiach.
he didn't genuinely want
even like
Mashiach.
the people that sat behind him, like the
Craziest people.
That's why I
If
think
they didn't want Mashiach, how could we?
that he was talking about himself.
When? That he doesn't want Mashiach?
When he said there isn't one person, he meant himself.
Like he doesn't want Mashiach?
The Rebbe said there's not. If one person had said Ad Mosai and meant it, Mashiach would have come.
So if the Rebbe didn't say it on mention,
So what does it mean?
how are we going
How about like little kids?
So what does it mean? He didn't want Mashiach?
We're not ready.
Huh?
We weren't ready.
So in another sikha, the Rebbe once explained, the problem is not the Yetzer Hara. The problem is the Nefesh Elikis.
What's the problem? The Shorkis doesn't want Mashiach?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? That's
The Rebbe said like this: the Nefesh HaBahamis does want Mashiach because he can't stand being a behemoth anymore. But the Nefesh Elikis, whatever the Eibishter wants is fine with him.
But the Eibishter wants us to want Mashiach.
So to say Ad Mosai, the Nefesh Elikis doesn't.
So then we're never going to get a point where we all want Mashiach.
What does it mean to really want?
To really want Mashiach. To do things to bring it.
Like for example, in the times of the Holocaust, people didn't want Mashiach.
That's I don't believe. I
Huh?
think they really wanted it.
They want it to be.
maybe they
They
wanted it.
didn't, you see?
They didn't.
Why didn't they want
I
Mashiach?
think they really
They
wanted
did-
salvation.
Exactly.
Not necessarily Mashiach.
They want something familiar. They don't want something like
They wanted to stop suffering. So either Mashiach should come
So isn't
or Hitler should die, one of the two. Right?
They weren't very picky with it.
Right.
I don't think they had the time to be
Yeah.
picky.
So when do you really want Mashiach?
when you're in
Suffering.
suffering?
When you're not suffering.
That will show that you really want Mashiach. So that we won't know that
So-
until we're
So
done
God,
with
so God
suffering.
forbid somebody dies
Then you go,
and the family wants Mashiach. Well, you don't really want Mashiach. You want your...
But I
Everybody's
guess,
always suffering from something.
yeah,
So,
we're never going to come to that point where we will actually want Mashiach because we have problems now.
So how about little kids? Like, they little kids say,
Don't have
Mashiach, they don't really
That-
have a problem.
that's why the Rebbe wanted kids to sing, we want Mashiach now. Because they mean it.
Want it.
They don't want to pay their mortgage. They really want Mashiach. Why? I don't know. Supposed to want Mashiach.
They don't have
just don't know
problems. They don't
different.
have things that they want to fix.
That's
They
right.
just-
So how do we get Mashiach?
So the truth is, Mashiach is coming anyway.
Yeah, but we don't want it to come because it's going to come anyway.
Exactly. The Rebbe is not saying, if you don't do this, Mashiach is not going to come. On the contrary, the Rebbe kept saying, Mashiach is coming. Why are you wasting your time? Well, if he's coming anyway, what do you want me to do? What did the Rebbe want? Mashiach shouldn't come despite us.
Should be coming because of us.
Yes. So he's going to come anyway, but
We learned in the Sikha, for my teacher was doing it for Pesach, that by Atis Mitzrayim, the reason we say Heilach Ma'anya, the fall Magid, is because Hashem had to literally pull us out of it. We didn't do it ourselves. So if this Mashiach comes despite us, then there's going to be another one.
Really?
Yeah.
well, it's not going to
Not-
happen. But
I mean, not,
Why
If-
would it happen?
if he pulls us out of Golus, then it's not finished.
and it's not finished because the whole point's not working.
So it's not going to happen that way.
But, so we can't just say that it's coming anyways.
Does it mean that will be good by then, or that
How good? If everybody is perfect,
Can't comprehend it.
what's Mashiach going to do?
But isn't that the point? That everything should be perfect when Mashiach comes?
That's going to take a long time.
Obviously.
No. Not perfect, ready. In other words, what was wrong with the Yidden in Mitzrayim?
They weren't ready.
They had such a slave mentality. They were on level 49. They weren't,
They didn't even have Torah yet.
Well, then how can you expect them to be good?
So what would good mean for them?
There's no Torah, then they're not Jewish.
Yes.
That's
They
all
didn't
that they
even want
wanted.
to. They didn't even
For
want
them
to
to
leave.
want to leave Mitzrayim.
Yep.
It's the same thing for us.
So-
because we just need to want.
So who died in Mitzrayim?
All those people that didn't want to.
Not the ones who ate treif.
Ones didn't want to leave. They weren't ready to leave.
So all we need is for the world to want.
But then we
We need
don't
the
want
whole
it for
world
the
to
right
want it?
reason.
And genuinely want it, or just say that.
Yeah, because
At some tipping point, like majority or
but
those who
Get the whole
count.
world. How do we get the whole world to want it?
The whole world does.
Yeah.
but they want
The
it
wo-
because they want their problems to end, and that's not the right reason.
That's partly. It's also they want it because they just don't see any other. There's no other hope. There's no other future. So it's not just they're suffering a lot. They just don't see.
But the teenagers were not, let's put it, not in the older people, I'd say teenagers. They don't really care if Mashiach comes or not in the non-Jewish world.
Oh, they
They're
do.
not looking for that.
I was talking to a girl in California who said, I used to believe, I don't believe anymore. She had a very, very horrible childhood. Really, really bad. And she was very miserable until she went to yeshiva, started learning, Eibishter, Moshiach. She became hopeful. Then she turned 17, and she saw that even in the yeshiva, not everybody is so. So she got totally disillusioned. She doesn't believe in God. She doesn't believe in Moshiach. It's over. So I was speaking to her, and she tells me she doesn't believe in anything anymore. I said, okay. So what are you going to do? She says, since I know how bad the problem is, when I get older, I'll find a way to help. make things better. So I said, make things better? This is a messed up world. Not getting any better. She said, no, come on. It can always be better.
So is that Moshiach?
I said, and you don't believe in Moshiach? Listen to yourself. You know how bad it is, and you're convinced it can get better?
So that maybe they don't
But
know
that's
it.
because she knows. I was talking to my friend last night because I did a C team, so I became friends with some of them, and they don't know nothing about Judaism. They just know they're Jewish. And she's not. Most of them don't care for Mashiach. They don't know what Mashiach is. They don't know what Messiah is even. They're not looking for something better. They're very comfortable with where they are. So then how do I teach them that? Like she was saying something to me and I'm like, that's not normal. She's like, no, it's just not normal because you're Jewish.
It's not true that they don't care. They want things to get better.
They just don't care to make it better, to get to the point. No, she doesn't. You could be a lofty person and I want to do this and I want to do that. She just doesn't care to get to the point to want to do it. So how do we?
Or she doesn't know how to do
So
it.
how do
Or,
we go to the point where we want to do it?
so the first thing is you have to know how to do it. If you don't know how to do it, you're just torturing yourself. I got to make it better, got to make it better. I don't even know how to begin. So eventually you get so frustrated you give up. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you're just paralyzed. Teenagers care. Maybe a little too much. Makes them crazy because they don't know how to. So before we get to the question, let me share a very important little thing here. I think for the first time in history, you hear young children saying things like, I didn't ask to be born. Well, I don't care. They sound suicidal. It's like, I didn't ask to be born, I don't care. And in some way it is a little bit suicidal. But if you really listen to it, a kid who says, I didn't ask to be born, is telling the truth. We all panic. Suicidal. But what is he saying? He's saying, I didn't ask to be born. True. Nobody asks to be born. The fact that children realize that they didn't ask to be born, which I think never happened before, is a very positive development.
Maybe that was the higher.
Huh?
Like there's something higher than them.
The fact that they were needed in the world, which is why they were born.
I didn't ask to be born. Okay, so finish the thought. You're right so far. You're going in the right direction. Yes, you didn't ask to be born.
So why were you born?
Because my parents decided to have a kid. Come on, continue a little further than that.
It's not really up to your parents whether they're gonna have a kid.
Right?
And also,
So
if
it's
it's
up
you,
to
It's up to
God, and
Hashem.
God needs
it's not a
you, then
choice
you're
that
gonna
it's
be
going to be
born.
you specifically.
Right. So why are you born?
Because you're needed.
That is so basic. That's all of Yiddishkeit, right? If you had to sum up all of Yiddishkeit in one sentence, how would you do it?
We're put in this world for a reason. You have a purpose in this world.
Or in different words?
The world couldn't exist without us.
No.
That's why it's like the day that we were born is the day that Hashem decided that the world couldn't exist without us.
So what does that mean? The world can exist. What does that mean? In one sentence, all of Yiddishkeit is, this is not about your need, it's about his need. That's it. That's the whole Yiddishkeit. What is the whole Torah? Telling you what he needs. So when somebody says, yeah, I read all the mitzvahs, I don't need them. I said, right. Hello. Of course you don't need them. So what does it mean, the Eibishter's mitzvahs? means what he needs. That's the whole Yiddishkeit. Until Matan Torah, anyone who believed in God or gods, what did they think? What did the idol worship?
Them, I'll get what I want.
Yeah. The whole idea of worshiping the idol was, if you want, you better behave. So where was the focus? I want. For 5,000 years, that has been the focus. But I want, but I need. Now, even kids are saying, I didn't even ask to be born. What do I need? I don't need this. We're finally getting somewhere. That is such a good development. At least now you have half the emes you already have. Right, you don't need. So finish the thought.
Question. So why were we come to this world if it's for Hashem? He can do it.
Do what himself?
He can make this world a better place for himself. By himself. By his own people.
Okay.
Yeah, he made us. And he made us to do that. Like, he could just do it himself.
So let me ask a very fundamental question. How long does God exist?
Forever.
When did he become perfect?
Forever.
So before he created the world, he was...
Perfect.
Why did he create the world? That's not perfect.
I don't think he was ever perfect, and I don't think it's like anything. Like, when did he ever exist? Like, he's not a thing, so he never really existed. He's an existence, but he doesn't exist. So, at the same time, like, I don't know how to explain it in my head.
I mean, you almost have to come to the conclusion that he was not perfect, because if he was perfect, why would he create a world? To become more perfect? That's right, doesn't make sense. By the same token, why would you get married? What's wrong with you?
Babies.
I want kids.
You want somebody to know that you were there, that, like, kind of, because if you're born, you live your whole life, and then you die, but nobody will remember you. So this is kind of like nobody knows that Hashem is. Yeah, no.
And he needs that?
No, I don't know, but I'm saying.
So really, let's talk about marriage. Why would you get married? What's wrong with you?
You don't have to be married to have a family.
To continue.
You don't have to. Guys, you don't have to be married to have kids. You have family.
Yeah, but if
Have
you don't have
a
kids, you want them
sorrow.
to have a normal, like.
No, they're perfectly stable relationships without marriage. Marriage also has its flaws. You know, when people cheat
It
on
does,
her.
yeah.
And if it's not stable, you still have kids.
Exactly. You still continue your lineage.
Yeah, but
You
it's
just
so
help
bad for
I
your
know,
help
kids.
ruin someone's life.
But
Yeah.
So it sounds like
Your kids' lives.
it sounds like marriage
Yours as
Just
well.
because they're
is the nicest way to have a family.
You don't need it to have family.
Right. So in other words, marriage doesn't exist for itself. You get married only for the kids.
Well, some people don't want to have
Yeah.
kids.
No, some people don't.
Then why do they get married?
Because they love a person and want to spend the rest of their life.
Okay.
You
So,
don't have to be married to someone.
If you assume getting married means I'm not perfect, I'm not enough, I need help, I need whatever, and when I get married, from my husband I'll get what I need.
Well, that's what's accepted. We accept that marriage is what's the ideal form of a relationship and the ideal family form, but you don't need those things. Like, you don't need marriage to feel completed or to...
Yeah, but your soul needs to the heart. Does it? Yes, it does.
What does that mean?
That in heaven, you were decided to be paired up with someone. more than someone, depending on
What does that mean?
that you need someone
That
to
you can't be
exist.
by
You can't be
yourself.
by yourself.
You can't be by yourself
You can't be
because
You need someone else.
because
Because that's how God created the world.
okay, so listen to this. What does it mean you need someone else?
To be reliant on them.
No, that's dependent.
Why would you need someone that isn't you?
They also need you. You can each other.
Because he's the other half of you.
What does that mean?
Because you're half and he's half.
So you're both broken.
Yeah. Until you get married.
I don't. No.
No.
Listen to this. You get married when you're perfect.
But we're never perfect.
But we're never going to be perfect.
No. Perfect means enough of me. Not I have everything. It's just, okay, enough of me. That means me is already perfect. Drop the subject. Then you can get married.
Why would you need someone else once you're perfect?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly, right? So the Eibishter is already perfect, but he's the only one. And he doesn't like that.
Lonely.
Lonely means imperfect.
If he's the one that is the one that created
He
everything,
needed
then
something.
how is that possible?
How is what possible?
He just created the fact that there could be loneliness
Right, he's not lonely.
I don't
or
see.
whatever.
He is the only.
I'm saying
So then why still
if
why would
he's
you get married?
infinite, if he's not limited, then he could help himself other ways. Like he could make that not exist. You know?
Okay, so listen to this point.
I don't know,
He's not trying to help himself. He's perfect. So what's missing?
Something.
What?
If he's perfect, I don't think she's
He's gonna make someone else.
So then why would you need
He
something?
wasn't perfect then until the world was created.
But he was perfect.
He wasn't at the same time. He was perfect because
How does that-
God is perfect, but he's not perfect because if you're so perfect,
He's perfectly
why'd
imperfect.
you,
Understanding someone.
why'd you need to make a world?
Okay. Try to understand this. God is perfect, which means he can't get any better.
Right.
He can't get stronger. He can't get older. He can't get bigger. He can't get smarter. He's perfect. But only he exists. And he doesn't like that. So he creates someone else. Now, if he created us, right? If we
But he
did,
doesn't like that. That means
if we didn't exist, what would he be missing?
Nothing.
Try.
But he doesn't need us.
Wait. If we didn't exist, what would he be missing?
us, his other half.
Does that mean he's imperfect?
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm.
He's missing something.
No.
He's missing something.
It's
He's
not
We're
half
missing.
of it. It's just it's not.
If you're missing this
You're
pen,
missing it.
if you're missing this pen, are you missing? Like, are you imperfect? Nothing. Like, are you imperfect?
You don't have it. You're missing it. But
Yeah,
you
because
don't
he's
have
missing
it.
the pen.
No. If you need a pen, then yes, you're missing.
Right, but she doesn't need a pen. She's just sitting right here.
Listen, then we're not needed.
So listen to this. Listen, I mean, this is so beautiful. He is perfect. He doesn't want to become better, bigger, richer, more perfect. But the fact that you don't exist bothers him. In other words, there's perfect, and then there's something greater than perfect. So God is perfect plus.
So then,
Not only is he perfect, he also wants someone else to exist besides him.
that's selfless of him.
That is so selfless. I'll gain nothing except you.
So we just have to make people know, like,
So what does that mean? Listen. The only thing I'm missing is you. So what will I gain when you'll exist?
You.
You.
It's the same thing with marriage then.
So what will it do for me?
Nothing.
Nothing. Like you're
Except
supposed
for the
to
fact that
want
I have
him
you.
just like because for him.
More than that. In order for me to have you, not only will I not gain anything, I have to give up something.
What are you giving up? Oh, stuff for him.
But doesn't that kind of make you feel better if you give to others, even if you have? What I'm saying, so that's kind of, in a way, selfish. It's like I'm gaining from it because I'm getting good feeling.
If you feel good because
Hang on. What does what does the Eibishter have to give up
Nothing.
in order to have us?
Nothing.
You
Well,
don't
he
gain.
conceals himself.
You're gaining like good feeling.
like you'll be fine without it, but you're still like,
Hang on, people. Let's focus.
Yeah, but you get a good feeling from helping people, whether you want to or
It's not a
not.
selfish thing to get a good feeling.
On the contrary, how can my existence make you happier? How is that possible?
You specifically, or
Huh?
somebody else?
anyway.
Anyone. 'Cause
In
that
other
person
words,
needs something
in other
to
words,
do.
what is unique about the Eibishter?
Did he perfect? She's the only one.
That he gets pleasure from the existence of someone other than himself. Now, we have that too. But that's the godly part in us, because it doesn't make any sense.
And that's why we get married. So,
And that's why we have children. Why does it make you feel better if another person exists? What do you gain from it? More than that. How much do you lose?
A lot. You give up your whole life for them.
Eh?
But
You risk your life if you're a woman.
Yeah.
Right? All so that someone else can exist? Wow. What does the Eibishter give up?
himself.
He got to stop being infinite.
How's that possible?
Tzimtzum.
But that's levels. It's concealment. It's not.
He's concealing himself.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make him not infinitive.
Well, he's got to limit his infinity. He's got to hide. He's got to create a Yetzer Hara, which he hates.
And we're not really easy on
It
him.
isn't.
He has to send the neshama from heaven to earth, which he hates.
So he does all this.
He has to create Golus, which he hates.
Why does it have to be that way? Why does it have to be through Yetzer Hara, through sending the neshama down?
Because otherwise it's not us. Then it's just more of him.
Well, he can make us in a different way.
And it's not clear.
More like him. So you're just making a clone. In order to have someone else, not just more of himself.
Okay, so then you have to. Okay.
Is that why there's like pain or whatever? Because I never understood. Like, if Hashem's not limited, then why is pain the solution? There can be other solutions, but apparently that's the only solution. So that just means in my brain
Solution
that
for what?
Hashem is limited.
Is
Is limited.
hmm.
Like, that's how it just like made sense in my brain. Like, I mean, Hashem is limited. If that's the only way, then there's obviously a limitation in that.
So what is the plan? What is the objective? What's the goal? That the finite, the painful, the ugly, the sinful, the bad should all become.
Wait, but if when Moshiach comes, everything's going to be perfect and we won't have anything that we had before, does that mean God will lose us?
No.
Because
Then he'll really have us.
So
no,
why did he
because
just
then
make it
everything else is going away.
What's everything else?
Well, let's say the
Just
fact,
God.
the fact that let's say we can choose him, right? That shows that he actually has us because when we do choose him.
Right.
So when
So
Mashiach
when
comes,
will
we'll
we
all
choose
gonna
him?
Choose him.
That,
But
Then we will have chosen him.
okay, fine.
no, it sounds like
But then
once
it's not going to be Bechira anymore.
it will be. See, that's the point.
So why didn't he just
Once you
do it
make
like
your
that?
choice, you've given up your bechira. Or you've made your
So
bechira.
then we can go back on our choice.
Why would you?
Well, once Mashiach comes, let's say, like, I can go back and be like, oh, I don't want God.
Why would you want that?
Theoretically,
Well, theoretically, you could.
you could, but why would you?
Well, I don't know
Would you
what
have
it's
the
gonna
perfect
be
life?
like
Why
then.
would you
It's like
feel
once I get married, can I get divorced?
Well, you can.
That shouldn't be
Yeah.
the point of your marriage, though.
But you could.
But you could.
Yeah. So
But then that's not a real relationship because you can always go back on it.
Okay, but most people don't go into marriage thinking I'm gonna get divorced.
Well, people do get.
a real relationship
It just
means
didn't work.
a real relationship means a relationship I could go back on, but I would never do that. That's a real relationship.
That's when you have the choice. So why doesn't Hashem just create the world like the way He wants it in the end? Because He wants us to choose it. So much greater if we choose it.
I'm sorry.
And the whole world.
Like, even with the choice and everything that we can go back on it, even though there's no really else to go. But
Like it's today. Today, theoretically, we could be perfect,
what?
right?
No, it's I just
Theoretically, we can choose all the right things.
Well,
but,
we
it's,
don't know the right
but it's just theoretical. After Moshiach comes, theoretically, we could be bad. But it's just
But it won't
theoretical.
actually happen.
No.
So I didn't get it. Why did God create us? Just because there was a lot of questions in between. What's like the answer?
Why did He create us?
Yeah.
Because there's something godly, mysteriously divine about not being content with yourself,
Yourself, even
even when you're perfect, or
So
especially when.
basically we don't understand.
That is the mystery of God. And that's what we need to be. We need to be able to choose another person just to have another person, not to help, to take out the garbage.
But when you choose, we were discussing this in one of our classes, that when you're supposed to choose someone just for who he is, not for anything, let's say not that he's kind and not that he's that, but what is he without his kindness and
No,
stuff?
that's who He is.
That's what
the
He is.
kindness.
So,
So,
but
she's saying
you're
not
not
for
supposed
physical
to choose him
things.
for that.
She's saying not for his physical things. Like if it was just him, without his money, without his clothes, without his
So
look,
then, but what
would
is
you
he
still
without
choose
it?
him?
But what is
his
him
personality?
without it?
Is who he
money,
is.
his looks.
His personality is also, let's say because he's kind, you're gonna marry him.
That's his personality.
that's
though.
him. That's
That's
who
who
he
you
is.
want to marry someone for.
But
because they're so kind.
is that taking away from the fact of choosing him because of him?
That's him.
If you're marrying him because of his
She's saying that his
kind-
money and his looks are not him. His
you take
personality.
What
away
is that
what
his
he has-
personality? If
It's
you're
not
ma-
about
if you're
physical
marrying-
things, Shannon.
I know that, but if you're marrying him because of he's kind, is that? It's not of him.
There's more than that. So what is
So then, what is him without his kindness?
Look, you marry him because he's kind, not because of the kindness he's going to do for you. Not because you need his kindness. Right? If you're marrying him because you need him to be kind to you, then you're not marrying him.
You're marrying his kindness.
So
But there's a difference between choosing to get married and being married. How do you choose whom to marry?
someone who's kind.
You look at a lot of things, including his money.
Let's be honest.
That's part of the reason you chose him. But once you choose him and you're married to him, who are you married to?
Who he is.
Well, then you can't be for his money and his
You
kindness.
don't only marry for his money, you're actually for him.
So basically,
Right.
after you get married, that goes away.
Yes, because like we were saying before, if it's all those things, why do you have to marry him?
To get those things.
You don't have to marry him.
Then you can get money from someone else can be kind to you, someone else.
Or he can be kind to you without marrying you. He can even be the father of your child without marrying you. So what do you need him for? Right? So again, when you're choosing to marry, you don't have him. So what can you look at? Things.
So you can be know all these things that we just said and believe in everything and still not want to be a Jewish person, religious or anything like that, right? You can believe in God and believe in the way that God created us, because for the marriage, blah blah blah, and for everything that you just said, and you can believe in Moshiach, and that's what our goal is in this world, and the way to get it, and you can believe in all these things. Believing is very nice and and whatever, but like you could still not want to be religious
Because
because religion is hard. Believing is easy.
Isn't it the opposite?
You're believing in
No.
Yeah.
Believing in
It's
something
like
is
you're
hard.
believing in
It's-
Hashem, but then you're
I
not
can,
believing
you could
that he should do
convince
what he
someone
said.
something and they'll believe you, and it's easy to believe someone and not do anything about it.
the question is
So why
this.
should we want to be religious?
The
Or
question,
Jewish or anything?
the question is this. If God needs you, how is it possible that you don't find that irresistible?
Because he needs her, and her.
And you.
And he still decided he needs you. We weren't gonna.
See, this is the question. The question between, the difference between the person who's on the right track and the person's on the wrong track. The difference is this. Knowing that he needs you inspires you, it moves you, it touches you, or you don't care.
So how do you care?
The question is, how do you not care? What's wrong with a person who doesn't respond to someone's needing them?
Well, what happens? Well,
You see,
someone can need
that's
you.
Yetzirah, you know? That's animal soul. Somebody loves you, somebody needs you, somebody is running after you. You don't care. What is that?
So then, how do you get your?
It's something.
How do you get your Yitzhar to?
It's like something in you died.
How do you?
Unless you're not really convinced that he cares. That could be. If you're not convinced he cares, well, so what are you excited about?
Well, you could be not convinced that someone cares, let's say
And hope that he does.
But I'm saying, let's say that Alex had a really horrible childhood. She could be convinced that God doesn't care.
Right.
And then still be excited for different things.
Yeah, that I understand.
No, but if you're
Right?
angry
So
at
there are
God,
many people like that in the world.
Yeah, but if you do know that he cares, how could you not get excited?
for
How do you know
someone
he
to
cares?
know God,
Why
that
would
means they
somebody,
really
so
believe
for
in him.
someone to know that God cares about you has to put aside the fact that there's so much horror in the world. So that's a very hard thing to do.
How do you do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Does he need, I don't know.
So you read in the Marzer on Yom Kippur about the Asor Haruge Malchus. Rabbi Akiva was tortured, right?
10 people who were killed.
So what was the story? That the angels came crying to the Eibishter. Yeah? And the Eibishter said,
I know what I'm doing.
No, if I explain this or something, I'm gonna have to take apart the world. Like,
It looks bad, it's pretty
hmm?
bad. It looks bad, but it's really good.
no, I said, don't say anything. I'm gonna, we need to discuss this. Don't say anything. I'm gonna, like, I know what I'm doing, please. Like, if I explain this to you, I'm gonna have to, if I tell you the reason.
I'm going to have to kill you.
Well, it's the same. You know that story with like.
It's like some guy asked the king or the president, why do you? And he said, if I can tell you, but if I tell you, I'll have to kill you. He said, okay, so tell my wife. The exact words, shtoik, be quiet, or I'll turn the world into mush, into tohu. What kind of an answer is that from the Eibishter?
There's a reason.
That there's a
for
reason
It's
for
just
it,
that there's
and
such an ingrained in. There is a reason for it, but in order for me to show you the reason, like the actual reason, I have to take apart everything in the world.
No, I know what the like. If this is what has to happen in order to have the world, and if I let's say don't do it because it's bad, the world's gonna go back to mush.
What the Eibishter was saying was, stop. It hurts me enough. I don't need you to tell me, right? So then, if it hurts you, so stop it.
Sometimes it's not your choice.
So the Eibishter says,
What do you mean it's
stop, You mean like cancel the world? Turn it back into mush? Can't do that. So how do you accept pain and still believe that Eibishter cares? Well, the only way to do that is if he feels the same pain. If you're feeling pain and he doesn't, then he doesn't care. But where do we get the impression that he doesn't feel the pain? So what happens? Malachim come to God and say, this is terrible. And God says, you're just a malach. Right? These are not your children, they're my children. These are not your creation, they're my creation. And if you feel pain that my creation is suffering, and you're just a malach, imagine what I'm feeling. So you're telling me that there's pain?
Well, he's the creator of it.
Right. So then you say, oh, if you're the creator of it, well then call it off. Call it off means cancel the world.
But why did he make it like that?
Oh, I don't know. Why it has to be Olam HaTachten, and why Tachten has to mean pain. And that's why we daven and ask the Eibishter to take away the pain, because can't you accomplish the same thing with a little less pain?
Apparently not.
So sometimes, apparently not. So what does it mean to have a low world?
Low pain.
We now know low world means bad people, bad painful events, all sorts. That's a low world. So you want me to take that out of the world? Then it's not the low world anymore. So you're turning it back into mush.
That's with everything.
So that's why the Rebbe desperately wanted Moshiach. Not because we're in pain.
But you said before that the Rebbe didn't want Moshiach himself. Like, so then, what? Doesn't he care about Hashem? Like, if Hashem is in so much pain, why didn't he want Mashiach?
Of course he wanted Moshiach.
But you said that before that,
When the Rebbe
even
said
if
it, not
one person, not one person wants.
Not one person has had enough of gullus to really object to, but the Eibishter does.
So
So that's why the Rebbe, somebody asked the Rebbe, you have to have Mashiach now? What's wrong with B'mheira b'yameinu?
what does that mean?
Like we always used to say. Soon in our time.
Oh, they pushed it onto us.
Has to be now. Right? So the Rebbe said two things. If it was just you, for you, Mashiach comes in 2 weeks. It's good. A month? I can handle that. But think about all the other people in the world. If Mashiach comes 2 weeks from now, 2 weeks, that means 7 billion people are going to continue suffering for another 2 weeks. You know how much suffering that is? Let's say Mashiach comes not now, a minute from now. 1 minute. For you, hey,
Someone could die.
I can handle another minute. But how about 7 billion minutes? And even if you don't care about the rest of the world, there are 14 million Jews. How about 14 million minutes? On top of that, and the main thing is, the Eibishter. A minute by the Eibishter is infinite. Okay, let me quickly, at least some of these questions. Did the Rebbe and the Rebbetzin ever have an intimate relationship? Intimate?
Yeah.
Infinite? Can't make out the word. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're being selfless and you get the thought that you're being selfless, does it cheapen the act? In other words, if you're aware that you're selfless, does that make it selfish? No.
What about with everything? Like,
It's like you can know that you're humble, and you're humble.
Does that take away from your humbleness?
No. Unless you're not really humble, you just think you are. But if you're really humble and you know you are, if you're really smart and you know you're smart, that make you stupid? How do you become a more positive person? If you realize, I didn't ask to be born, so what am I kvetching about? The question is God getting what he needs? Because he's the only one who needs. I don't need anything. How do you live your life to the fullest? That's ambitious. Don't live your life to the fullest. Live your life for something, not for everything. In other words, devote yourself to something. It doesn't have to be the fullest, because that just frustrates you. Whatever you do is like, I should be doing something else. What does it mean to be dependent on someone? Is it bad? And if yes, what should one do about it? There's nothing wrong with being dependent on someone. We are dependent. We're dependent on a lot of people and for a lot of things. What's wrong with that?
Well, sometimes it gets to an unhealthy state.
The question is, besides being dependent on others, what else is going on in you? If that's all there is, then you're not a human being. So whatever dependence you have on others, fine. Who depends on you? How do you know what's right for you without a mashpia? You really don't. We can't really be honest about ourselves. That's why we need a mashpia. To some degree, friends can also help, if you listen to them. If you accept their criticism. Why do people fight? How do you make peace between you and someone else, you and yourself, between two people? And why is foul language bad? Actually, foul language is very useful.
Yeah, it was a study. People could put their hands in hot water, and the people who said the words,
We're not as burnt.
No, it didn't hurt them as much.
Right.
So, but why do people make such a big deal about it?
Some of the words mean like not good things that are like
Okay.
Some words.
How about if you say oy vey? Does that help also or not? That doesn't help?
no, it's actually an
If
experience.
you fall down a flight of stairs, you're not
Oy
gonna
vey.
say. Oy vey.
I guess it's all the will of Hashem.
How do you make peace? Very, very, very quickly. There are two ways of making peace. One is you come to the one person and say, you know, you're right, but try to be nice. Then you go to the other person and say, no, you're right, but try to be nice. That's one way. The other way is you come to the first person and say, you're wrong. You're wrong, cut it out. And you go to the second person and say, you're wrong, cut it out. So one way of making peace is by telling both of them that they're right. Then they calm down, and maybe they'll be nice. The other way is tell both of them that they're wrong. Then they'll cut it out.
What happens if one of them is right?
So the first way, telling both that they're right, that's called redif shalom. To tell both that they're wrong, that's called emes. So there's shalom and there's emes. Until Moshiach comes, shalom is the best we can get. when Moshiach comes, it'll be emes. We won't have to, yeah, you're right. No, you're wrong.
Or if someone hates you.
What did you do to make them hate you?
If you're not reacting, then there's no problem. But you are reacting.
What if it affects you?
Of course it affects you. Is that right or wrong?
That it affects you or the fact that they hate you?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's okay for it to affect you.
Yeah?
Why shouldn't it bother you? Especially if that's someone's close to you.
Oh, if it hurts you, that's normal. That's proper. But if you're fighting back, so who's wrong?
So,
So they're wrong for doing it, and you're wrong for taking it personal.
Then what do you do?
So you tell both people, you're wrong, cut it out. As long as each one thinks they're right, there'll be a war.
But then
if
you're
you have
going over
nothing
to
against them?
if you're going over to them saying you're right and you're right, isn't that making war?
It's a band-aid. It's not a real solution.
But
And
what
why
if
would you
you
tell
have
s-
nothing against them? What if they just hate you? There's
And,
always someone.
and your reaction is,
Nothing.
then what's the problem?
The fact that they hate you.
But it does matter.
A fight has to involve two people.
Yeah, someone just said
It's not a fight though. They just
Good.
hate you.
So here we're talking about how you make peace, not how you get someone to love you.
It's not about love. It's about not hate.
Yeah.
That's love.
No.
So the question is not how to get somebody to stop hating you. The question is how do you stop a fight?
Well, it is a fight, in a way.
Because
It's a one-way.
because both people are involved. If both people are not involved, there's no fight. It's like Shaul hated David, but David didn't hate Shaul. So can you call it a fight? It was just sad.
But David had to run for his life.
That was very sad.
But he wasn't fighting with
No. That's why it says in Tehillim, there's a kapitel in Tehillim that says, "Hatzilenu mireifai me'seinai u'miyad Shaul." Save me from my enemies and from Shaul. But Shaul was not his enemy, as far as he was concerned. Shaul was Melech Yisrael. He had total respect. Anyway, it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Should I turn this off? Is that what you know?